Welcome, brothers and sisters. My name is Eros and I am the Zone Maker. And today we are going forward with our series on sigil magic. In this episode, we will learn how to actually create and activate your sigils. So, of course, you will need to have clear the informations of the first episode of this series. Now, the process to craft a sigil is fairly simple until we follow all the necessary steps without skipping anything. So, as usual, we will use a step-by-step approach to be as clear as possible. The first step, which is the most important one, is making a declaration of intent, just like we've learned in the previous lesson, making sure that it doesn't contain negations and that it is expressed in the present tense. If you are following along the videos, you may have started writing down a few declarations of intent. We are going to need them. Step number 2. We are going to write down our declaration of intent and cross out all the vowels and all the repeating letters. For example, just as an example, I've written down I am prosperous and crossing out all the vowels and the repeating letters, I am left with MPRS. In this step, we are basically trying to confuse the declaration as much as we can while keeping it coherent to the original sentence, to avoid our rational mind to immediately recognize the original sentence when we pick the sigil to activate it, when it will be ready. Step number 3. We are going to arrange the remaining letter in an artistic manner, in a drawing, to be clear. And we do not need to be great visual artists, believe me, I am not. But we want to try to do everything we can to make our sigil fully impressive to ourselves, to make it feel impressive to ourselves, to make it magical for us. But we also want to keep it fairly simple, because our subconscious love simplicity and we want to send our subconscious a sigil, not a painting. For example, in my example, I've drawn something like this. As you can tell, not too complex. Of course, out there are a lot of great artists making amazing sigils, but you don't need to be an amazing artist for this technique to work, as you've seen. Step number 4. When your sigil is ready, of course, you don't need to get your sigil at the first try. You may want to simplify it or make it look nicer to you in various attempts. We are going to draw our sigil in a circle, or we may want to write it straight away in a circle once we have experience, of course, and we feel secure to get it on the first try. You will need to be confident. Now, I know there are a few practitioners who prefer not to use a circle to put the sigil in, But remember that you are giving up one of the most important symbols in sacred geometry. And even more importantly, we are giving up a great way to center our focus on the sigil. And we will need to center our focus on the sigil in activation later. And at this point, we got our sigil, something like this. As you can see, the process was fairly simple, not too complex. First, we made a declaration of intent. Second, we crossed out all the vowels and the repeating letters. Step number 3, we draw the remaining letters in the actual sigil. And 4, we are drawing our sigil in a circle. Of course, you can get an easy circle going with your pen around, for example, a jar cap or whatever is circular. As you can see, I prefer smaller sigils, but they can be as big or as small as you want. At this point, we need to cut a little square, as you've seen, around our circle without cutting the circle itself. Then we have two choices. The first one is to put the sigil away, usually in a box for future activation. The second choice we got is to go all in with our sigil and pre-charge it. I do not always pre-charge. This is an optional step to supercharge your practice. If you decided to charge your sigil, what you're going to do is to keep it in front of you on an altar, if you use one, if you have one, and more or less at the height of your eyes, and you are going to softly gaze at the sigil. We may even see you want to gaze through the sigil, while visualizing all of your energy and all of your power entering the symbol you crafted and making it shine with your energy. This is a very simple visualization. It just requires a little imagination and a few minutes. But it may leave you a little tired. So when you do this, take your time. At this point, we need to put sigil away, just like we did. As we said before, I recommend a box to forget our sigil. We do this to avoid our conscious mind to immediately recognize the sigil and link it to the original declaration, blocking its way to our subconscious. The trick we will use to forget our sigils is to make more of them, in my case even a lot of them, and shuffle them all in your box. Because we just need to forget what the specific sigil means, not what we prepared in all of our sigils. When you pick a sigil from your box and you don't remember what that specific sigil means, the sigil is ready to be activated. Otherwise, if you still remember, shuffle it back and pick another one. When one of our sigil is ripe, is mature for activation, we want to position it again more or less at the height of our eyes for activation, even better on our altar if we have one, and we are going to enter a meditative state as we've learned before. When we are completely relaxed, we are going to open our eyes and again gaze at the sigil. We may say even through the sigil, until in our complete relaxation, the sigil gives us a sign of activation. The signal is different from person to person, and for some of us even from activation to activation, but a few examples of activation are, for example, seeing the sigil become illuminated, or seeing the sigil start moving, vibrating evenly, or becoming bigger, or the most common activation for me, until the sigil comes out of the paper, just like when I used to daze off during classrooms while staring at something. At this point, when we see a signal, our sigil is activated. We just need to dismiss it using one of the elements. I recommend to always burn your sigil, since it's the easiest way. And fire also represents action, which is a great correspondence to use to set your sigil in action, your desire in action. But you can let go of your sigil in flowing water, for example. It is important that this flowing water, you want your desire to flow, not to sink in stagnant water. Or you may even want to bury your sigil in the ground, or even rip it in very, very small pieces and let the wind carry them away from a very high place. We are finally done. We just need to let go of our desire and trust the universe to take care of our desires and manifest them. Actually, there are many ways to activate a sigil, but most of the other ways are really dangerous, so we will not discuss them here. All but one that is safe and fairly easy for a beginner, even if a little embarrassing. So, sigils can enter your subconscious while your conscious mind days off. So, even if I recommend the method that we've discussed before, if you wish, you can give yourself pleasure to make your mind blank at the climax, in the climax, but only when you are alone. Otherwise, your attention will most likely be directed to the other person you're with. This method works really well, but you will find it doesn't allow you to work as often as the previous method, and you will still need to dispatch the sigil with one of the elements at the end, preferably with your clothes on if you need to go outside. Now, as a last note, remember that sigil work best when you use them to change yourself or to change your life. We will see how to influence others with spell work. But first, we will discuss in the next episode all of my tips and tricks to maximize your success in sigil making and sigil using. At this point, we are done. I leave you to your practice in altering your reality. I deeply thank you for your kind attention, and may eternal light shine on.